All right, welcome to News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. It is Tuesday, August the 5th, and you know what? We got a bunch in store today. As we always do, we will start off talking about weather, specifically. Got the music again. Two musics, two intros, doubling the intro. All right, anyway. Back to what I was saying. Tuesday, August the 5th. A lot to talk about today. We'll start off, of course, with weather. And if you live where I live on the eastern side of Orange County, we got the lightning and the rain. I actually went out to my front driveway and captured a couple of videos of just the lightning, because it's one of those ones where you hear the crack of the lightning all in like one fell swoop with the thunder, and it's just, you can tell the storm's like right on top of you. Dave Nazario joining us here, and you know, I'm used to thunderstorms, used to all of that. I grew up in Texas, so used to the big storms rolling in, but it is still legitimately terrifying when the storm is parked what seems to be like right over your house, and you're getting just that heavy rain and the lightning, and it's something to behold.
Yeah, believe it or not, I've been doing a little digging over the last 2 weeks, and it does, in fact, turn out all this additional heat that we've had stacked up overhead has done things with the positive and negative charges that typically occur in our thunderstorms. That's why I believe it was 4 or 5 nights ago, I felt like Tom Cruise in the 2005 War of the Worlds, because the lightning was just off the chain. And we're already starting to see some of that happening outside right now. You look up in the western fringe of Marion County out there, and we've got a nice thunderstorm already working its way in, with a bit of our west coast breeze beginning to activate as we speak. We're going to see that continue throughout the day today. And hopefully we can fend off any of those rogue spin-ups. We had that tornado drop down in Osceola County, my old stomping grounds, yesterday. That could still be a potential. Storm Prediction Center doesn't have us highlighted for a severe risk for the day today, which is a good thing, but it doesn't take much for us to get flare-ups whenever you're dealing with restive sea breeze setup. Part of that, I wanted to show you all this, as a matter of fact. You take a look at this graphic. This is not going to be your temperatures. We're looking at dew points, and our atmosphere is ready to rock and roll. That's why we've been having these thunderstorms developing as early as they have been, coupling that with such substantial heat that we've been building up throughout the day. You can see the villages with a dew point temperature of almost 80 degrees. Now, for those of you out there unfamiliar with dew point, that's just a lot of water out there in the atmosphere. That's also what's helping to ramp up the feels like temperatures. Look at the map here. There is some good news, so rock with me for just a second. But if you look at our feels like temperatures, it's 12:33 in the afternoon. Gainesville already at 102, all the way down through to the villages coming in at 102. Wildwood, big difference there, 91-degree air temperature, but feels like 106 out there in Sumter County. Orlando coming in at a feels like temperature of 97, and then all across the board through Brevard County, we're sitting pretty at 100 degrees even. Now check this out. Hopefully this graphic hasn't updated too much and it's going to make me look like a liar. There you have it. We are starting to see, as a result of all these thunderstorms firing up throughout the afternoon, it's taking in some of that leftover heat. Storms, just like the tropics, they thrive off of these kind of things, these kind of mechanisms, the heat and the energy of the day. So while it may not be much, this will slowly but surely add up as we go through tomorrow, Thursday, and then Friday. We'll have to see what happens off our southeast coast with that area of interest. We'll talk about that here shortly, but the temps are slowly coming down. You walk together through the clouds and future radar here, and you can see, once again, we're looking at a sporty afternoon into the evening hours, and it's because of all that built up heat. These thunderstorms are able to linger as long as they are. I'll step you through the loop here. By about noon, we're starting to slowly see things ramping up. You can see both our sea breezes are beginning to take effect. West Coast and East Coast in action by about 3 o'clock. Then the trademark 5 p.m. collision over interior central Florida, which is going to be the worst part of it, extending out till about the 8 o'clock time frame. Take a look at how the model is really capturing some of these more aggressive thunderstorms. And then if you notice, 9, keep watching that timestamp, 10 into 11 o'clock, past midnight, we get a little bit of a resurgence, because at this point, not only do we still have a lot of the heat trapped down where we are at ground level, but we also have the cool air that comes down out of these thunderstorms. They're called outflow boundaries. So when you have a lot of heat left over and some cooler air mixing with it, it just adds to that profile that helps build these thunderstorms, which is, fun to say the least, because it gives us tracking out until past the midnight hour. Now, hour by hour, as a matter of fact, you can see early on in the day, we're still briskly warming up, 88 degrees on average across the area, squeaking into the 90-degree threshold as we go past 1 o'clock. Then by 4 o'clock, rain chances are going up for just about everybody. We are now at the warmest part of the day. And then notice at 8 p.m. tonight through Central Florida, we are still holding on to those rain chances. In fact, as some of those cool layers that come out of these thunderstorms move around Central Florida, we could see an increase in how much of the rain is still out there. So if you have the opportunity, I know we're getting into the home stretch before the school year starts. If you want to get outside to the pool or even the beaches, you still have a chance to do so. Many of us are going to stay dry until about 5, 6, getting closer to sunset around 7 or 8 o'clock. Taking a look at your beach outlook, same thing can be said. And notice the water temperatures. 84 degrees in some spots, even higher than that for others. And now I wish I had some good news in terms of the temperature department, but this is something we're watching, especially for the tropics. If you look at Climate Prediction Center's latest outlook here, let me go ahead and skip over to the next graphic. We're going to have that subtropical ridge build back in once again. And as a result of that, we are anticipating the temperatures to remain above average for a lot of us. So that's going to be something we're going to watch, because not only is it going to influence our Central Florida weather, but since we have such an active tropical basin right now, you look at the latest from National Hurricane Center, both of our areas are now code orange. We've got 2 oranges out there in the Atlantic. Dexter's still having a ball by itself up there in the northwest quadrant of the Atlantic, not doing anything for anybody. In fact, it started to fall apart. Latest advisory has it at only a 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm. Westerly shear cutting across that storm is going to help to knock it down a couple notches. Both of these other AOIs, areas of interest, are fairly interesting, though. Models are really starting to latch on to that southeast feature. We'll have to watch a little bit of thunderstorms as they wander through South Florida into the Gulf. That's another feature that I'm going to be tracking. And then that wave in the Atlantic and what's to come behind that. You'll definitely want to head over to clickorlando.com, check out my latest video update, as well as the article I have alongside of it. I've got a bit of a deeper dive, so I don't take up too much of your time here, but you look at the Euro probabilities, and this is precisely what I'm talking about. Right out of the gate, if I hold the image steady, we've got a pretty strong signal right off the southeast mid-Atlantic. Then you have Dexter's signal in the top portion of your screen. And then if you watch the Atlantic, there goes our first one. Still up in the air as to whether or not it truly is going to immediately escape or try to make a move further to the west. And then back behind that, we have 2 more enhanced signals. And then I'll rewind to turn your attention back closer to home. Look in the Gulf as well, off our west coast. It's why we've been mentioning, all of us here in the News 6 Weather Center, that we got to be careful with all these massive areas of high pressure sitting overhead. What that's going to do is focus our most favorable conditions for these things in the tropics to try to flare up closer to the state of Florida and major land masses. But we can talk more about that at a later date and time, or you can find me on the digital platform somewhere talking tropics as always. Let's get you over to your 7-day forecast so we can wrap up, and you can see throughout the week, even as that high builds back in, we are going to hold rain chances pretty consistent. And I'm not going to lie, to tell you the truth, I think that might be a little bit of a dork up in the graphic. I don't think we're just going to be 60, 60, 60 across the board, but your daytime sea breeze is going to be sticking around until about the weekend. We are going to start to see us drying out again with the return of that dominant high pressure ridge.
So stuff to watch out there in the tropics, also stuff to watch in the Gulf. The weather going to be a little bit of a rinse and repeat, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. You got it.
All right, David, appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we know you'll keep an eye on that for us, especially as we are now kind of at the crest of hurricane season. All right, back here to Central Florida, where Orange County today is dealing with a bit of a double barrel from the state of Florida. On one hand, you have the state attorney general saying if Orange County doesn't sign an addendum to its agreement with immigration, that the county mayor and perhaps the county commissioners could be removed from office. The county pushing back on that, but ultimately, at least tentatively, signing the agreement. The county's rationale saying, listen, it's a federal responsibility to handle immigration, and we have no problem helping out. But Orange County taxpayers shouldn't have to foot that bill, and the bill is growing as ICE is becoming more active. So a bit of tension there, but it looks like the county will comply, if nothing else, out of fear of the county mayor and county commissioners being removed. Meanwhile, you also have the state's CFO, Blaise Ngoli. Now, Blaise recently sat down and did a one-on-one interview, an exclusive interview with Matt Austin here at News 6. That's on clickorlando.com. You can check that out. Matt talked to him about everything that is within the CFO's purview. That ranges from homeowners insurance, which continues to be very expensive, to the investigations into various counties and cities through the DOGE program. Matt also asked him some very pointed questions about what other state agencies might fall under that microscope. And it was interesting to hear the things that the CFO seemed to say, oh, yes, we'll investigate, and others were demurred a little bit as to whether or not they were going to actually look into that. But back here in Central Florida, you do have DOGE in town. You do have the ICE letter, and it's all culminating at the county commission, where they're meeting today. News 6's Mark Lehman is at the commission chambers.
Are you with the state? We watched this morning as a team of auditors from Florida's Department of Government Efficiency arrived at the Orange County Administration Building.
We do not think it is right that taxpayers get to foot the bill for government excesses.
State CFO Blaise Ngoli leading the audit after he says his department found a sharp increase in property taxes over the last 5 years.
What we've seen traditionally from local governments is they wind up adding a lot of fluff and wind up spending things on that they shouldn't be spending on.
A July 24th letter from the state asked to see spending related to employee pay, homeless services, and DEI programs, which some local leaders are taking issue with.
Ask yourself, is that fiscal responsibility or political retribution?
Commissioner Kelly Martinez-Semrad calling the audit an overreach by the state, saying the county has needed increases in revenue to keep up with growth.
What the state fails to recognize is that in the last 5 years, we have nearly 81,000 people that have moved to Orange County.
The county, meanwhile, is promising transparency. All of this is happening as Florida is looking at a ballot initiative to lower property taxes in 2026.
We're not here to pick a fight. We're here to protect what is ours and to stand up and defend our tax dollars.
That was Mark Lehman reporting. Now, obviously, the entire thing is playing out throughout the day today with the county commission really between a rock and a hard place when it comes to this, because the attorney general is, well, he doesn't necessarily report to the governor. It is a cabinet level position, but the attorney general very much, in lockstep with the governor. He used to work directly for the governor, and the executive office of the governor now is the attorney general, appointed to that position after Ashley Moody took over Marco Rubio's seat in the Senate. But, the threat of being removed from office is a very real threat for elected officials in the state of Florida. The governor has shown a tendency throughout his time in office to remove those for all sorts of reasons, a bit of a departure from his predecessor, but, it's something that they're very keenly aware of, especially given the fact that even though these are nonpartisan seats, many of the members of the Orange County Commission are Democrats, and the governor is a Republican, the attorney general is a Republican. So partisan politics is one of the things that they're definitely keeping an eye on, and, are very aware that if they don't do what the state says, they could be removed from office, and in which case the governor would have, under the state constitution, the ability to appoint anyone he wants to that seat, which, again, causes a whole nother level of problems. So something to obviously keep an eye on here in Orange County as they are dealing with this DOGE situation. Orlando will have its turn with DOGE next week when the same people show up there. We'll wait and see if anyone else ends up on that list. I know Matt Austin asked if Visit Florida, you remember Visit Florida gave $1 million to Pitbull to do a music video, Sexy Beaches, Hotels. Remember that one? Yeah, you paid $1 million for that. We'll wait and see if Visit Florida gets a DOGE investigation. All right, so from that to something a little bit different. One of the big things when you talk to law enforcement throughout the state, not just throughout the state, but across the country, that really continues to bother them is people who leave their guns in their car and leave either their car unlocked or leave the guns unlocked inside the car, not secured in the car. Because that way, when a criminal breaks into the car, not only are they breaking into the car, but now they've gotten their hands on a weapon. And that weapon can be used for all sorts of nefarious things, because if you're willing to break into a car, well, clearly you're willing to break the law. Now you're armed. So when you talk to sheriff's deputies, you talk to sheriffs, you talk to police chiefs, they'll all say the same thing. You know, if you want to own a gun, great, but be responsible, take care of it. As Catherine Silver found out, somebody is breaking into cars allegedly up in Seminole County, and now that same alert is going out.
Sanford police posted this picture of a suspect on social media, hoping to get results, and they did, when an arrest report says Caden Rodriguez's own grandmother recognized him and turned him in. It turns out Rodriguez is believed to be the person who broke into a vehicle near Hickory and 8th Street in June. Police say he stole several items, including an all-black Hellcat 9mm pistol. This isn't the first time we've told you about car break-ins this summer where thieves see an opportunity and take it. DeVary's police say 2 pistols were stolen during a string of burglaries in the Elmwood neighborhood.
Criminals, unfortunately, are opportunists, so they do tend to go for unlocked vehicles.
And Ormond Beach's police chief told us it's one of the most common crimes they see.
I don't want to put the guns in the wrong hands.
We've heard time and time again that these are crimes that can be avoided, and often the cars that are targeted are unlocked. We asked several local law enforcement agencies just how often these burglaries happen. Volusia said there have been 18 so far this year. There were 31 the year before. And Orange County said, generally speaking, 350 firearms are stolen out of vehicles in a year. I'm Catherine Silver, News 6.
And you saw there in that piece, it was Trooper Steve actually out with the police chief, and sitting there talking about that. And again, take care of your weapons, be responsible, because again, if somebody's going to break into a car, they're clearly willing to break the law, and now they have their hands on a firearm. Okay, stay with us, because coming up we'll have another story about firearms, but this one dealing with trying to prevent firearms from ending up on school campuses. That's after this. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. Of course, I told you right before we went to the break that school is, as you know, starting up for most students next Monday. Now, students in Volusia County, when they go back, there will be an AI program running. It's called Zero Eyes, and essentially what this does is it uses very high-tech software to look out for guns potentially on campus. The whole idea is to keep kids safe, utilizing as much technology as we can. Mike DeForest has this story.
When students in Volusia County return to class, artificial intelligence will be used to identify guns on campus.
If somebody walked up with a firearm out, it would send an alert to the Zero Eyes Security Operations Center. They would then review it and send us an alert immediately.
Captain Todd Smith with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office gave News 6 a peek at the newest technology designed to protect students at school. It's called Zero Eyes, and it takes advantage of the school's existing security camera system to automatically detect possible guns on campus.
Sometimes it takes a person to hear a gunshot or somebody sees something. This cuts all that out. If it happens on the camera system, it alerts us immediately.
As this promotional video shows, Zero Eyes uses artificial intelligence to scan the live video feed looking for objects that resemble firearms. If the computer detects a possible gun, the image is sent to Zero Eyes headquarters in Philadelphia, where former military and law enforcement officers verify whether it is a weapon.
That image of the shooter is going to allow first responders to know where to go, who they're looking for, and exactly when that person was at that exact location. Within 3 to 5 seconds, law enforcement can get that alert, get to the location of that shooter, and potentially stop that shooter from squeezing the trigger.
Seminole County schools began using Zero Eyes about 4 years ago at Oviedo High School, and they've since expanded the program to other campuses. Earlier this year, Daytona Beach Police started monitoring cameras throughout the city with Zero Eyes. That prompted Volusia County schools to give it a try.
This is cutting edge technology. We're always keeping our foot on the gas, trying to make sure that our kids are safe, and we're doing everything we can to keep them safe.
Zero Eyes will cost Volusia County schools about $50,000 a year. The company says the technology has identified thousands of real and fake guns in schools and other locations. Mike DeForest, News 6.
And like so many things, a bit of the sign of the times for the fact that we have to now spend $50,000 a year to detect guns at our kids' schools. Well, to Kissimmee now, where Kissimmee is yet another city that is looking at fire fees. Winter Garden, Sanford, as well as Brevard County, and the list goes on and on. They've all had to go back and try and reassess fire fees, raise them in some situations because, well, Central Florida is growing and firefighting costs money. And, well, if you've ever had to pay homeowners insurance, they like you to have fire coverage relatively near your house. So Kissimmee is not only looking at how to pay for firefighters, but also another way to attract firefighters to come work for the city. Normally, firefighters work 2 days on and get 1 off. Well, Kissimmee's looking at maybe 3 days off, 1 day on. Stephanie Rodriguez has this report.
I'm your Kissimmee community correspondent, Stephanie Rodriguez. I'm here in Kissimmee City Hall. Back in June, the City Commission approved a new fire assessment fee. That fee that property owners will pay will allow for the fire department to go to a new shift, 24 hours on and 72 hours off. Now, while they voted it in June, it still needs to be ratified.
Kissimmee's fire chief is confident commissioners will ratify the union contract tonight, which will let him start bringing people on.
The hard work now starts trying to not only hire 40 firefighters, but get them trained, get them all in position, create this whole force shift.
The hires will help start a new schedule, 24 hours on and 72 hours off, a 42-hour work week instead of 56. To achieve this without a pay cut, property owners will have a fire assessment fee that's estimated to generate over $6.1 million.
What is the interest level you've seen from people looking to get into the Kissimmee Fire Department?
We went ahead and did a flyer to start advertising and getting the word out, and we did that a week ago last Friday, and we've already had 38 applications, which is very good for us.
It's not just new applicants. The union president tells me less firefighters are leaving.
We have a neighboring department that's taken from us for years. They've opened, and this is one of the first times I've not seen any of our guys actually put in an application.
This is happening as other departments look at tax increases to improve pay. Brevard County raised its fire assessment, and Winter Garden will vote on increasing its fee later this month.
The assessment will begin on October 1st. The chief plans to make the hires in 2 phases, the first this fall and the next in the start of 2026. If all goes to plan, this new shift should begin in April. I'm your Kissimmee community correspondent, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
All right, we'll end up this with a bit of a random fact. If today feels shorter than you thought it was going to be, it's a Tuesday, which is kind of the redheaded stepchild of Monday as far as I'm concerned. But that being said, the moon is as furthest distance from the Earth's equator as it is today, furthest distance ever, that it can be. And because of that, the pull, the gravitational pull, is changed a little bit, and today is 1.25 milliseconds shorter. So if you have things to do, you have slightly less time to get them done. Anyway, 4 o'clock today, News 6 will be back on the air. You can watch us then. Otherwise, I'll see you back here at 12:30 tomorrow. As always, thank you to Kathleen, off to my direct right. And thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.